Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of In This Season, where we're all about growing
and glowing in each season.
I'm Zerida, and most of you know me as Epicurious Diaries.
My name is Priscilla. Most of you know me as Elatom Priscilla on Instagram and YouTube. So our topic today, we're talking about therapy and self-work and how it has translated into us being better partners and having better relationships. I mean, we have shared extensively about our dating experiences and stories in season 1, and now season 2 is more like a follow-up and a build-up on that. So maybe what I'll probably ask Rita is, when was the first time you went into therapy, and what, if you don't mind sharing, what drove you into that?
So, the first time I went into therapy was early 2017. And what actually took me there is there were two big catastrophic events that had just happened.
Yeah.
My dad had just died, and my marriage was also ending at the same time. And I had just realized, that the dynamics of that whole situation, like the gravity of it all, were so that's what took me to therapy. I just needed to make a clean break.
Yeah.
The break had already happened, but I needed to process and deal with all the effects of all of that.
Yeah. For myself, I think the first time I went to therapy, I remember I was living as 2020, towards my birthday. It was a birthday gift from a then son of Adam.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
A
very woke son of Adam. But I also think he was just tired of me complaining to him and taking to him, because at that time, a friendship of mine that had been like a very close friend of mine had sort of like pulled away from me, and I was processing those feelings. And so I was confused. I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh my God, it was the first ever friendship breakup ever in my whole life. Like I've been those friends that had friends for years. So I was super confused. And that's when I went into therapy. So, and for me, it ended up being such an amazing space to unpack a lot of things, because I thought I went in for discussing this one friend of mine who was trying to unpack what has happened, what was my role in this ending of the friendship, what could I do better, am I a bad friend, am I a horrible human being? And I ended up unpacking even much more,
yeah,
than those. So so now that you're in a relationship, how has your work in therapy helped you? What are some of the things that you feel you unpacked through therapy and are now making you a better partner?
For starters, I would say that I am aware of, I wouldn't say I'm a healed human being, but I am a healing human being. I am aware of my triggers a lot of the time. And even when I'm not, I have arrived at a place where I am able to say to my partner, I am feeling triggered.
Yeah.
I am not sure what this is about, but you can put it on the table and say, let's unpack.
Yeah.
I'm also at a point where, because sometimes when you're not aware of your triggers, you're very reactive. I'm able to sit down and do an introspection now and figure out what is it. Even before, like sometimes you'll be bothered by something, but before I put it on the table, I'm going to sit with it and try and figure out, is it a me thing? Is it actually a problem, or is it
a thing?
Am I reacting from a place of, is it my trauma that's being, and it's also made me aware of how important it is to share my trauma with my partner, so that they see me where I'm coming from with certain things, because there's things that are would be okay, really, but I'm trying to say that, look, this
for me
has been my experience with this and this, so kindly, like, I know that it doesn't matter what he's doing, who he's on the phone with, whatever, he always takes my calls. Even if he's on another line, he'll go back in a minute, and I'm like, but weren't you on an important call? Sometimes
and where do you think, from therapy, where did you, like, it showed you where that stemmed from?
Yes, it is. Like I said, I have disorganized attachment style. So I I am very afraid of being hurt.
Yeah.
Right? I am very afraid of, I've not fully unpacked that.
Yeah, what that the
right? But I know that I am aware of the fact that I'm very afraid of being hurt. I'm very afraid of, so many things, and I have anxiety as well.
Yeah.
So there's that. My mind will go from 0 to 100
very quick.
Yeah. So being able to share that with my partner and them being able to like respond to it, like it's a small thing to somebody else, but to me it will not be a small thing. And it's really nice to see how he has held space
for it. And in terms of like communication, because also that's like a very important thing, and I find that for most of us, our lack of or our style of communication really stems so much from our past wounds, past shame, and past pain that we carry. And if you don't unpack it, it really shows up in your relationships. For you, between you and your partner, how has therapy helped you to become a better communicator, having unpacked some of your past traumas? And I mean, if you don't mind sharing, I can share mine offhand. As a people pleaser, I'm a recovered people pleaser, and I can the freedom to say that, because for the longest time, as those people who would sweep things under the rug to maintain the peace, I didn't want to rock the boat. I would be extremely unhappy with what you've done, but I will not tell you, because I'm like, you know what, now how you're going to feel to make me feel certain. Let me just keep it and move on. And then I'll end up presenting you. I'll end up feeling a certain way, So I have now, through therapy and I'm being able to unpack those things, I realize that, look, it's important for me to speak and tell you, what you did has hurt me. It has made me feel like this. It doesn't mean I'm saying this relationship should end, but this is how I'm feeling, and we need to discuss it. And I feel like now, also because I've been able to tell my partner that, he knows. He'll tell me, babe, I know sometimes you just don't want to, but let us, so because he's aware of that, he sometimes checks in, like, are you sure? I'm like, very sure. I'm like, okay, fine. You get. So how has that been for you?
You said you're a recovered people pleaser. I am a recovering people pleaser. So we have a lot of situations where, I'm very non-confrontational. In general, in my general approach to life, I'm very non-confrontational. Right? I avoid confrontation a lot. Right? And my partner is always there telling me, no, you must go confront this. You must finish this. You must, And because of that, he also, when I mention something, he does not get defensive ever. Right? He's very quick to, because he knows that I'm very quick to back down. I'll let it go. I'll let it go. It's not that deep. But he's able and willing to just sit there and we finish it. Right? And it's also reminding me often, because I did start to unpack this people pleasing in therapy. Right? And I always hear my therapist's voice telling me, it doesn't matter how uncomfortable it is.
Exactly.
Say it, right? And so I text my feelings. I text my feelings. Because it's easier for me to think through and properly lay out what it is. Right? He won't text back. Then he will invite me to sit and then we will talk about it. But at least I'm aware of that also, because when I start to talk and you interject, I'm very quick to just leave it.
And also because as I can relate, because as a former people pleaser, the thing that you're uncomfortable the most is how that person received that information to make them feel uncomfortable. So you're always thinking about the other person and self-invalidating your feelings. And in the long run, you start to resent them because you feel like they should know better by now. Like, it's been years, come on, why are you doing the stupid things? But it's very interesting that I also text my feelings, especially when I know that the person who I'm speaking to will not receive my verbal communication. So if I don't feel safe enough with you, or that I know that in the past I've spoken my feelings and you invalidated them, I will text.
For me, even if I am sure that you're going to receive them, it's just because when I'm talking to you face to face, I'm reading your reaction. I am like, is it going? Can I go on? So I'm very quick to just wrap it up. Whereas if I have time to sit down and properly think it through and I write and I sit on it and I, it comes out properly packaged for you to look at, think about. And I remember in the beginning, I did explain to him that this is how I communicate my deep feelings. And I send it like this so that you also don't just, because sometimes we're guilty of listening to answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? When it's written, you have time, read over it, read it again, think about it, and then come and let's have a discussion. Or he usually comes to me with a presentation.
Yeah.
And he's so quick to say, I'm sorry. So quick
That's
to
so
say, I'm
sweet.
sorry.
That's so sweet. Yeah. So, and another thing is conflict resolution. Because for most people, when they unpack, when they go to therapy, they start to unpack and realize, oh my God, like, I used to say, oh, I'm non-confrontational, oh, I'm conflict averse, oh, I'm all these things.
Yeah, you just lack because listen, avoiding conflict is not a conflict
it's
resolution
not exactly
skill.
exactly.
The conflict has not been resolved. It has been swept under the rug.
Because you are I used to call myself peacemaker, but basically you're not really a peacemaker.
You are self-abandoner.
Exactly. And also because you're an avoidant.
Yeah.
Just like, what, this one, nah, I'm out.
But you know what happens when you do that? Again, I learned this in therapy. You're not sorting anything out.
You're not.
There's a pile growing behind you. And at some point, those things are going to burst out in ways you didn't expect.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, you know how they say, if you don't deal with what hurts you, you're going to bleed on people who didn't cut you.
Yeah.
So because in this relationship, Zerida is pushing you and pushing you and pushing you, and you're not able to say anything back to Zerida.
Yeah.
Someone's going to do something so small, and you're going to give it all to them. You do this all the time, blah 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 blah, and yet it's not actually where it's coming from. So also, therapy teaches you to, has taught me anyway, to do like that self-reflection that I talked about in the beginning, where you're able to assess your big reaction and figure out that actually all he did was X, Y, Z.
Exactly.
Right? This big reaction, where is it coming from? What is this?
Yeah.
And you realize that there were people before that did
things
X, Y, Z, and now you might be busting out with that you always, but it's not them. It's been, you were just not able to speak up before, and now.
Exactly. And another thing also that I realized through therapy was how extremely passive aggressive I was, under the guise of, oh, I'm a peacemaker. And I remember there was a guy I was I was talking to, and he used to keep saying, talk, say what you want to say. And like this, let's just say, I've missed you. You didn't call me. Instead of me saying, oh, babe, I really missed you, I'll simply say, oh, you're too busy for me. You don't make time. Yeah. And basically at the root of it was all saying that I miss you. Call me, and through therapy, I've been able to learn skills and techniques of saying, look, it's okay to be vulnerable. I used to be so scared of being vulnerable and showing my emotions to my partner because I felt like maybe I'll be taken advantage of, or there'll be abuse and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm now a much better person because I'll call my man and say, babe, I miss you. Like without even thinking, if he takes whatever he does with it, that's his responsibility. But for me, I'm no longer now, passive aggressive. If I'm not happy, I'll say, oh, but what you did last time didn't make me happy. And I feel like I'm in a much better partner because of therapy than I was. Like,
I'm also
before.
definitely a much better partner. I wanted to ask you if there are any practices that you do that have helped your communication as a couple.
So I think for us,
I know you mentioned. Sorry.
Yes.
You had mentioned earlier your the traffic lights.
Yes. So we do the traffic lights a lot, but also we affirm each other in the moment. Like if he has done something that I like, I'll say, babe, thank you so much for doing this. This made me really feel a certain way. So for us, we really speak in how your actions made me feel. Yeah. So we do not just leave it. Like I like to point, because he's evidence based. He's a numbers guy.
Yeah.
He needs evidence, statistics. So that's how he's heard things. So I've learned that when you point out a specific thing that he does, he'll not, okay, this is what, so
this is where it's coming from.
So I'm always very clear. And for us, we sort whatever needs to be sorted one pile at a time.
Yeah.
We don't we don't add so many things. So today, if we're saying, babe, what you did last time didn't make me happy. Today, on this day, and we just sort that one thing. We leave it at that. Then the next one, we don't say 5, 6 things at a go because his brain will feel information overload. Yeah, so I think it's just knowing when. But also, I realized that for him, it's about the timing also. You know, like I can see when he's extremely busy, or that's not the time to have that conversation. You know, so I will leave it. So for me, I'll tell him, babe, can we have a chat? I'd like to give you some feedback. You know, I prepare him so that he knows that this is the agenda of the meeting. I want to give him some feedback on something that he did, and he'll make time for you. Like, okay, what do you want? Okay, let's sit down. We sit. I tell him this and this is happening. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Another thing that I learned in therapy was how important self-care is in terms of the health of your relationship, like how self-care contributes to the health of your relationship. So like before, I used to think that the more I give to this, like it's healthy to give to this person and then expect that they're also going to give, right? I didn't understand also that time apart is good, is healthy, is recommended. You know what I mean?
Highly.
But I then also, like, I remember Lynn, my therapist, helped me see that how do you feel when you give 24 hours of your 24/7 of yourself. So you find that you're like, oh, but I'd really like time to watch a movie, or I'd really like, but you're not.
Exactly.
And so what that allows is for little pockets of resentment. Love spending time with you, but there's also this other thing that I would like to do that you are taking me away from. And yet balance. The importance of balance. So it's okay to say, honey, I need a couple of hours to do me.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
I understand.
You know, and then I'll come back to you. It's not doesn't mean that you don't want to spend time with them.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you like this other thing more. It's just that we are whole human beings and we have other needs as well.
Yeah.
So even just learning how to communicate that at some point, I mean, I still feel
a certain way.
Sometimes when I say that, I'm like, oh, is he going to think I don't want to spend time with him? Or is he going to? But also, even with that guilt-ish to some extent, just still holding space for for my me time.
Yeah, for us, I think another thing that actually has reminded me is we like being together but not being together. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we like being in the same room, but we are separated. I'll be on my phone, he'll be on his phone, I'll be doing something totally different, and we're not even talking. We're not even trying to be in each other's space, but we are I can see he's there. So it's just knowing that he's present, but not with me. And he's like doing his own thing, I'm doing my own thing. Also, sometimes when he comes home, he likes to stay in the car a bit longer.
I do that.
You know, so I appreciate that that's his time. So I'll hear him coming, they'll open the gate, he'll park, and he'll stay like another 20 minutes in the car. And I'm not bothered. I'm not going to. What are you doing? No. It's
your partner.
Yeah. So it's his time. When he comes in, now it's
okay.
My time. So we sort of like have created pockets of peace for each other within our space together, and without feeling pressure to talk, to do something. You know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually really, really important.
Yeah.
So, do you have a parting shot? Like, what more?
So I think for me, the last parting shot would be like for someone who has a partner who probably they are dealing with certain issues in their relationship. Have you broached this topic to your partner? Like, are they open to having therapy together or therapy alone? How are you able to interest them? Because it's been monumental in your life. How have you been able to interest them in that space? Or is it something that they're not even interested in?
No, fortunately they are. Like they know the importance of therapy. Fortunately, this wasn't one of those situations where I have had to educate.
Yeah.
I have not had to educate my partner about therapy. They are very well versed with it. They are.
And they're not asking you, who are you talking to every week? Who's that woman?
No, they've done their work. Man. They understand what that journey is for and what it does and all of that. So fortunately, I haven't had to
educate them.
Thank God.
Yeah. I think same here. My partner is also quite open. I mean, I think for him his only worry is that maybe not to get so dependent on it. Because like, oh babe, I understand. Because he asked me, how long has it been? I'm like, about 3 years. Like, how often? I'm like, once a month. I'm like, okay. So I think for him it's a case of, babe, I don't want you to get so dependent. Or because also can become a clutch, where you feel like you can't do without it, you can't, stuff like that. So I think there's need for a balance when you get the techniques, now you can navigate life on your own. Yeah.
I actually broke up with a therapist once because they were not letting me be independent. They had started to treat me a bit like a child. Where they want to tell you what to do, and they'll tell you that's not you. I'm like, how do you know that that's not
exactly
me?
Exactly.
I broke up with them because it was starting to
be codependent.
Yeah, it was not. Because it's supposed to be unbiased and whatever. Take me from here, but now it was like I was now like their child that they were proud of, and I was starting to feel like I needed to please my therapist, and it was getting.
How often do you go for your therapy?
No, now it's been a while.
Now it's been a while. Okay.
So usually now I just go when I feel like I need to deal with something, or but it's not, or to check in with something, but it's no longer an ongoing thing. Sometimes your therapist says, I think you can do without me now.
Yeah, clearly you should be able to.
You should you get to that point sometimes where it used to be weekly, and then bi-weekly, and then monthly, and then they're like, I think you're good now. But if you ever feel like you need XYZ, give me a call.
That's true. I check in with mine once a month, simply because I'm now in a transition to a new phase of life, and I just need to make sure that there's no things that are lying around unpacked and stuff like that. But I think maybe what would be your last show to someone? What would you like if someone said, I'm thinking about therapy, and what would be like, oh my God, this has really worked for me?
I would say absolutely do it, because we have this thought that therapy is only for people who are depressed, people who are, but I feel like we all need therapy because we all have things to unpack, whether we know it or not. That's one. Two, you have every right to interview your therapist. Not every therapist is your therapist. And the last one is, it is so important for you to do your work, because otherwise you're going to project all this unhealed stuff on your partners, and even worse, on your kids. This is how generational trauma is passed on. Deal with your stuff. That's not for anybody else, but for yourself. But even if you don't want to do it for yourself, think of your kids, think of
the people you're going to be with. I think, as Zerida says, it's very, you've had our experiences. We talk about therapy all the time, and how important it has been in our journey as single women, and now as also in our partnered season. And for me, I honestly will say it's the second best decision I ever made. It's been amazing. Money spent, because my man is so much. I'm a better partner to my man than I would have been if he had met me, years back before. Unhealed. Now I understand communication better, my communication skill. I'm more great. Guys, if you can afford it, please, by all means. So so we will be sharing some more comments and more links of therapists that you can go to if you're interested. But please do reach out and don't suffer.
Is there a book you've read that you would recommend?
So many.
Just one. Give us one title. One title.
Oh wow. I think for me it would be Keeping the Connection On by Danny Seal.
Okay. Mine would be, if people don't know where to start from on this whole journey, I would say read The Body Keeps the Score.
Also read What Happened by Oprah and
yes, it's very similar.
So it talks about trauma and stuff like that. It's really very informative. So, and also listen to lots of people like Brené Brown. Listen to people like Dr. Esther Perel. Like people who have done a lot of work. If you can't afford an actual therapist.
There's lots of resources online that you can look to. There is the one that we all love. I don't know her name.
Who?
The millennial, is it she?
The millennial
psychologist?
Millennial
holistic psychologist. That one.
Oh, there's another book that you should call The Atlas of the Heart. By Brené Brown. That's my one book actually.
Okay.
Scratch the other. The Atlas of the Heart. By Brené Brown. Amazing. It goes deeper into emotions, jealousy, envy, anxiety. It just breaks down the emotions and gives you language for the emotions, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
So there we go. This has been a really nice self-reflective episode. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope that it's given you a thing or two to think about. If you'd like to know names of some therapists, you can reach out to any of us. You can also just go to Google. Whatever floats your boat.
Exactly. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Subscribe, share this video, comment, and share it, and let us get this conversation moving. Thank you so much and see you next week. Bye. Ding, ding.